Welcome to the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, home of the 2014 Allstate Sugar Bowl LHSAA Prep Classic, presented to you by NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune. I'm your host, Julie Boudwin. This fella here on my right is prep writer Jerit Roser. Jerit, we've gone through 1A, we've gone through 2A. Let's get out 3A right here. It's Livonia and a meet for the Class 3A state title in the Dome. It's going to be the first game on Saturday. Tell folks a little bit about this matchup.
You know, first, you're doing a hell of a job with the long title of this thing. You're nailing it 3 for 3 so far. Saturday's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to start at, what you said, noon with Livonia and a meet, which I think is going to be a really fun way to start the day. Two really big community fan bases they'll come out and support those guys. Livonia had a huge following last year when they get here for the first time and fall short to Union Parish. In the semifinals, Union Parish beat a meet, which a meet hasn't been here since 2011, and I know both sides expecting huge crowds and both sides coming in with, as I mentioned with some of these other schools, these senses of unfinished business. They both felt like they had a really great chance last year, and then both fell a little bit short to the Farmers in that wild, almost destiny-type story. And so now they're both here, and they're ready to get after one another.
Talk to me a little bit about a couple of players that folks, if they're here in the Dome, that they're going to be hearing over the loudspeaker.
Yeah, for a meet, Devarius Henderson is a guy that can hurt you in a dual threat capacity at quarterback. Kenner Harrell at running back has done a nice job. They underwent an injury earlier in the year with one of their bigger playmakers, and some of those folks have stepped up and really shouldered the load and taken care of business offensively. Desarius Downing is a guy who's going to probably haul in some passes from Devarius Henderson, and their defense has been stout. They've been holding people in check last week in the semifinals. They've got a guy, Devin White from North Webster, that's running all over people, 300 yards in playoff games and things of that nature, and they really slowed that offense to about 200 yards total. Rushing was about 130, so real impressive feat there. Livonia gets back with a lot of the guys that were here and played roles last year. C.J. Powell, who was more of a slot receiver type, takes over at quarterback. Same deal. He can throw it when he needs to, but he's really quick. He can run it as well. Malcolm Diedrich is the guy that takes over that Russell Ferris role of being a standout linebacker, workhorse running back type guy. Willie Baker, a guy that's gotten some interest from schools like Tulane at defensive end, hits as hard as maybe anyone in the state, particularly for a guy that a lot of people haven't heard of. And then an interesting deal with Livonia is Point Coupee Central closed this year. So all those seniors they lost, they bring in these Point Coupee Central kids, which was a playoff team last year. They've got guys, Bryce Jones, who's gotten some attention on the recruiting trail, that plays kind of a strong safety type rover almost position a lot of times, an outside linebacker, depending on formations. Stephen Guidry, a receiver that is a little bit under the radar, but some colleges have certainly looked at, and he's a big playmaker for the Wildcats.
Now, in the previous shows, the 1A and 2A, you went with the schools, for your prediction, the schools that lost last year and that are going to kind of be seeking revenge. Are you going to go with Livonia for your pick for 3A?
Yep. They were here last year. Both schools, as I say, have that sense of unfinished business. But I give Livonia the edge. They were so close last year and pretty immediately took that sense that I'm sure is not much different than what a meet had of, we could have gotten this thing last year. Livonia was in overtime in one of the craziest games that's probably taken place in the Prep Classic here and fell short by that one score. And I think that experience and the addition of some of those other notable names that I mentioned from Point Coupee Central, I think they have what it takes to come back and take care of business this time.
All right, well, Jerit's picking Livonia in the 3A title game, so be sure to check out NOLA.com with all of our we're going to have a bunch of gamers and video interviews and just content throughout the week leading up to Saturday's 3A game. That's Jerit Roser. I'm Julie Boudwin. Thanks for watching.